Hi ho everybody and welcome back to D Plus Us Weekly, the show where we talk about shows exclusive to Disney Plus episode by episode, week by week for our enjoyment and yours. Well, mostly week by week. I'm one of your hosts, Griffin L. Griffin D-Pad, with me as always, the wonderful, the amazing Mr. Mitch George. We are back.
They've got this saying in boxing: best cure for a black eye is quick hands.
We're not skipping straight to episode 3, even though we still have not yet talked about
It was the best quote of the show thus far, okay? I had to do something. We're back.
You're not wrong. We are back, folks. Thank you for bearing with us. You know what? We really wanted to talk about Daredevil episodes 1 and 2, like, immediately. But it's a little difficult to do when none of your recording stuff is available to you.
None of it's in your apartment. Yeah, that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
You could have recorded your phone. I offered to record episodes of our show from Disney on my phone.
Yeah, but see, here's my problem is if I'm going to do it, I really have to commit to the bit.
Right.
And I did not have the money for a Disney Pass at that moment.
Oh, it would have been funnier if you had done it from Universal, to be honest.
That would have been great. Oh, yeah, go stand in the Marvel comic book land in Islands of Adventure. Just stand in front of the Nelson and Murdoch sign there. Really rub salt in that wound. But of course, we're going to talk about episodes 1, 2, and 3 and all that jazz. But first, a quick rigmarole for you. First off, hey, we got some great episodes right now. We banked a few episodes of the regular show that you may have been seeing going live, so check those out. We are currently going through the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. Are there 2 other movies in that series? No, not at all.
Will we talk about those 2 movies that don't exist eventually? Yes, I'm going to make Griffin do it.
No, not at all. Maybe. I did end up watching 4 after we recorded those.
You should not have done that.
It was just in the vibe. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, go check those out. They're great. Also, go check out the most recent video essay that we put up where I attempted to recreate Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom in my apartment. My old apartment, not this current apartment.
It'll all make sense if you go watch the video.
Go watch the video. Genuinely one of the funnest, dumbest things I've ever decided to make on a whim. And thank you, Mitch, for enabling me to do stupid shit.
Hey, you don't need my permission to do anything. You go do your thing, and I'm just going to be here as your biggest cheerleader, all right?
Mm-hmm. I say thank you also because you're in the video.
That's also true.
Yeah, go check those out. Finally, like we mentioned at the top, I am moving at the moment. We've talked about this a lot over the last few months of content, but content is going to look a little weird just because of schedules, because of life at the moment.
As a baby.
Yeah, Mitch has a kid. I am just moved across the country.
We're going to make it work.
Yeah.
We're figuring often it out. As my partner will allow us to do so because she's amazing.
Mm-hmm. She's the best. But with that, we're working on that. I'm also going to try to do some park stuff eventually for this channel. And what it will end up being is me calling Mitch from the parks and him getting very, very upset at me for doing so.
You calling me on the day that Muppets Vision closes and I'm not there and you are is going to be really, really bad for me.
Okay.
My mental health. I'm just saying it now.
So there's this company called Lost Boys that makes Disney shirts. And I'm so disappointed I didn't jump on it when it did because they had a Rest in Peace Pizza Rizzo shirt.
Okay.
I think it says Rest in Pizza. And I'm so disappointed that I wasn't able to get this shirt because I genuinely want to wear it on that final day.
What? Well, we'll talk about this over, but your final day might not actually be the final day.
To be determined.
Because of the way pass access works and all that.
Mm-hmm, sure. But yeah, more stuff coming. Keep an eye out for that. But we're not here to talk about any of the new stuff yet today. We're here to talk about Daredevil Born Again. Season 1, episodes 1, 2, and 3. Starring the wonderful, the amazing Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, as well as some other standout people here. I'll shout out Alden Hudson and Deborah Ann Wool because they're awesome and wonderful and they always need a shout out, but they're really only here for about 5 minutes. I'll also shout out to Margarita Lavavia. I'm not going to say it right, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Who plays Heather Glenn. As well as, I also want to shout out Janaea Walton, who's playing Phoebe Urich. There's so many fantastic, wonderful, amazing people in this. We'll get to Commander de los Reyes eventually here. But we got 3 episodes here to talk about. The first 2, Heaven's Half Hour and Optics, and the most recent one, the hallow of his hand. We got 3 episodes of the, I think, 8, 9?
9
of the season so far. Mitch,
I'm pretty sure it's in 2 9-episode seasons that they've confirmed thus far.
I think so.
I'm just double checking. 9 season 1, 8 season 2, according to IMDb, and of course take that with a grain of salt. But 9 for this season seems appropriate.
Fantastic.
Because that's what was originally announced.
I want to also
up until Tuesday, April 15th.
I want to also shout out that we will be getting a Punisher special with that's probably going to be somewhat related to all of this as well.
Yeah, they're going to spin off from this with a new Punisher special in the vein of Werewolf by Night.
I cannot wait. But
so
Mitch,
give me a Punisher special with just all the blood and no talking whatsoever, and I think that would be kind of wicked.
That would be pretty dope. Now, Mitch, we have 3 episodes. What do you think so far?
Daredevil's back, man. Like, I binged through the Netflix show again because I'd never actually finished the last season when it dropped. I also I pulled myself through Kicking and Screaming, The Defenders, which was a show or miniseries, I guess.
I say that show's not as bad as we remember it being. It's not good.
It's not, but
it's not good. Let me rephrase. It's not good.
Iron Fist is just the worst.
Oh yeah.
That being said, this is fantastic. I do see kind of like when there was that huge, outcry online that we weren't going to get Foggy and Karen in this, and they changed their tune, and we saw like the one set photo leak or whatever. I'm like, oh, they're not going to be in this very long, and we were treated to a very shocking, I would say, opening scene of that first episode that really set the tone for where the show was going.
They said, like, you really want these characters in this? Okay, fuck you.
Cool. And, well, all the interviews leading up to the debut of the show were also like, people are going to be really divided on some of the decisions we're making, and I don't know if we're making the right call, but we're making them. And here we are. That being said, I really like what this show is setting up in terms of both Matt and Fisk having to not as like they're being forced back into their their true persona, I would say, not even their alter egos in Daredevil and Kingpin respectively. By the end of this show, it's going to be a bloodbath in the best way.
I can't wait for when we start to actually get more of Muse. We did see a little bit of him, I think, at the end of episode 2, I want to say.
Yeah.
Of him doing the painting of Fisk on the wall. But there's so many great, Matt and Fisk together, it's just such a great duo of these polar opposite characters. And you really see that so well, I think, in that first episode. Obviously that entire diner scene is so tense in such a perfect way. But
there's one thing I didn't like about it.
Yeah, hit me.
It was the smoke. It just made it hard to follow. I understand they were going for it to kind of be edgy or different or something that isn't not necessarily something we see normally, but
I don't remember smoke being
you're talking about that first fight scene with...
No, I'm talking about the diner.
Diner Fisk scene. And yeah.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
the whole fight scene at the beginning was fun and fine, but it was okay, great fight scene. Very honestly, at this point, that's not why I care about these shows. The fight scenes are fantastic.
Not at all.
But it's these moments, and I think these first 3 episodes do such a good job of it, especially with Matt not being in costume for most of it. But it's the opening, Matt being on the rooftop at the end of that opening, and then by the end of that episode, it's Fisk on that rooftop, and they do such a good job of showing the dichotomy of these two players within this larger game for New York, that you can see that they're fighting for essentially what they consider to be the soul of the city. You continue that to episode 3 with this trial for a vigilante for White Tiger, Hector Ayala. Again, massive shout out to Camar de los Reyes. So damn
fantastic.
Good. I wish he was in this more.
Yeah.
But to have it be
about a lot of people.
this is Matt doing what he knows is right, and Fisk trying to do what he thinks is right as well. Of, no, I'm getting rid of vigilantes. You have just stopped me from being able to do that for a little bit. Like, you can see them trying to do what they genuinely consider to be right for the cities, but there's also that added aspect of, like, Fisk is a horrible, horrible, horrible being. Like, definitively.
Well, that's the thing. Fisk isn't Fisk as a person isn't horrible, and isn't to start this show. Kingpin is where a lot of that comes out. It's where we saw it in Hawkeye. It's where we saw it in Echo. It's where we saw it in the original Defender saga. This Fisk is different, but we can see the cracks starting to form, and he's going to go down that.
I don't think he's different.
I think he's trying to be, is the difference, right?
See, I don't know if he's trying to be. I don't know where we're going to go with that storyline, so I don't want to say one way or the other for sure. But it doesn't feel that different to me. It feels more like I tried doing things one way, I'm trying doing things another this way. But there's ultimately still that base of, like, what Fisk ultimately wants is power. Like, I messaged you when, after I'd watched those first 2 episodes, I was like, I both love and hate this show. Because I love how good the show it is. And God, I hate the reality that the show is mirroring. Where it ultimately comes down to our hero who just wants to protect people. And our antagonist, I'm not necessarily even calling him a villain yet, because he hasn't really been a villain in this series, who just wants power. And
it's not even power,
chilling.
It's control. It's control, right? It's not even just that power. It's the fact that he wants to be in charge. And now he's the mayor of New York. Spoilers for episode 1. I don't know if we said full spoiler warning yet, but I mean, obviously these weekly shows, we tend to delve into it a little earlier. So this is your warning. Go watch the first 3 episodes, come back and chat with us. But yeah, I mean, it's his need to control the narrative, to control the situation, to control the players in New York in the back alleys and such, right? Which we see with, I guess his chief of staff is who that was, trying to deal with the city starting to crumble underneath him without his heavy hand. Like, he's got the mayoral powers, but that heavy hand of Kingpin has not been around, and that's starting to create cracks in what is the fabric of the New York crime scene. And as that continues to deteriorate, we're going to continue to see this almost like a come to Jesus moment between Fisk and Vanessa, with Matt's girlfriend as the therapist, which has to be intentional, right?
I mean, I don't think it is.
If you're Fisk?
But, see, I don't Fisk. So here's the thing, Fisk, they like that. They're on date 1 when that happens.
Sure.
Like, that. There's no way that's intentional. But Fisk is gonna find out, and Fisk is gonna use that shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's absolutely gonna use that. What's funny to me is, like, you would think that in a show like this, Fisk and Vanessa would be the most chilling characters to me, but they're not. For me, it's largely on the mayoral staff, particularly Daniel Blake. The, like, kind of played by Michael Gandolfini. Kind of the kid protege and all of this. Just absolutely horrifying character to me.
Which, calling it now, that's Kingpin's son.
Maybe?
I think so. There's something there. Like, there's something more that we as the audience don't know yet, but I have a feeling that there's a closer relationship between Kingpin and Blake than and again, this is a character that's original to the show, so that's just me putting my tinfoil hat on, but I have a feeling that that's Kingpin's son, somehow.
Well, I mean, comics-wise, Kingpin does have a son.
Right.
He does have Richard, who also goes by, I believe, the Rose. But yeah, there is a full gang war between those two characters. That could be an interesting take on it. I don't know. It's just this. It is that chilling relation of, like, Daniel Blake is very much a representative of Fisk supporters, who are very much a mirror to Trump supporters. in the U.S. Like, that is just chilling to me to see in a show right now. Like, that's why really my main thought along this show is I love how good this show is, and I hate what it's mirroring.
I mean, all you have to do is, you draw the parallels between vigilantism and immigration, and you're basically telling what's happening in the world right now, right? Short of, I mean, in most circumstances, although I'm sure it has happened, and it's heartbreaking to think that it could, and not being able to say one way or another that it has, but the final scene of episode 3 is kind of perfect. You've got this Punisher copycat, eventually to, presumably based on what's happened in the comics, be a member of the anti-vigilante task force, as you've got like 50-50 in terms of the cops being for or against.
I'm calling it right now that whoever killed Hector is a cop.
Oh, 1,000%. It's a cop. It's a member of the anti-vigilante task force, and I feel like that's where the Punisher tattooed guys are going to end up working for Fisk as that force.
Dude, when they showed the actual tattoos, I was shocked that they were doing that. Like,
I'm not.
Well, let me rephrase. I'm shocked that Marvel let them.
That very, very true.
For folks that do not know, the cops, for some dumb reason, like, really, this is one of those you do not understand this fucking character kind of things. But for some reason, cops decided to take the Punisher logo and use it for a symbol for them, which is hilarious because Punisher is very much a character who's like, no, the cops don't do shit, are massively corrupt and horrible. I'm going to do this shit myself. But so to actually see them take that and put it in the show where that character exists, which means we are going to have that character react to this situation, presumably either in the next episode of Daredevil or maybe even going further to whatever this Neville special will be, is just shocking to me that any of this is happening. And I'm so happy that it is. It's just something I never thought Marvel would address.
Yeah, like, I kind of hope that the Punisher special doesn't dive as much into this, but gives him a foil to try and resolve within that. Because I do think that the whole idea, like, I think this season ends with Fisk militarizing the anti-vigilante task force. Like, I think season 2 is dealing with the fallout of that, and will include Daredevil and Punisher teaming up. But the thing that I want that'll never happen, because Sony is stupid. They've already mentioned a dude with spider powers, and the dude with spider powers ain't going to show up in the show. But if any hero was going to show up here, that would be the one.
Yeah, dude with Spidey's history with Kingpin.
Exactly.
I would not be surprised
there.
if we get the anti-vigilante task force, which does seem like that's where we're heading. I would not be surprised if we got the Defenders.
I think we're going to get there. I think season 2 is going to do a bunch to set that up, at least with Jessica Jones. And maybe you introduce, ideally it would be Mike Coulter, but again, if they want to recast the character, they're welcome to do so. But if you get Luke Cage running for mayor against Fisk, it happened in the comics when Fisk was mayor. I think it'd be a great way to introduce the character that's different than what the story they've already told.
I want that being its own show.
But is there enough? That was the problem with the Defender stuff. There was never really enough for some of these characters to have their own show. So maybe it's just a plot point in whatever Defenders
what's funny
thing they do is.
Luke did. Luke and Jessica very much had their own shit. I would argue that Luke, Jess, and Matt were all perfectly fine having their own stuff. It was just Danny.
Like, the only problem I have with Luke is there was a great half season of a 2-season show.
Oh, I totally disagree. I think the entire first season is amazing.
Man, I needed Cottonmouth to be in more than just the first 4 episodes or whatever it was.
I would say Cottonmouth is not the villain of that show. It
is
his sister.
I know, but he was so good.
And it being about a corrupt politician.
I just want Mahershala Ali and everything.
Luke Cage episode happening now at some point.
All right, I'm down.
Just to keep this conversation to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very interesting that this is the way that they're going to jumpstart the anti-vigilante task force, presumably, with these corrupt cops that are pro-Kingpin and anti-vigilante. It's literally in the name.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need anyone else showing up other than Punisher, who we know John Bernthal is confirmed for this season.
It's more just that those characters exist, and when you have something as big as we're getting rid of vigilantism in New York, you can't do that without addressing some of these other characters.
Well, you can't do it without addressing Spider-Man, but they're going to have to, unless Spider-Man 4 is Spider-Man Kingpin, which honestly would be great.
Would be dope.
You've also got to think about Jersey. It's so close to the city. Like, how does this affect Kamala Khan?
It doesn't. Jersey is such a separate nature. Jersey is its own city. As far as Marvel has always been concerned, the rules are separate. They are two completely separate. And it's like in DC when Metropolis and Gotham City are across each other by a lake, which is the stupidest decision made in the entirety of the DCEU. There's a lot of dumb decisions in those movies, but they're so different in that regard. And also, Kamala's off doing shit with Captain Marvel right now.
I was going to say, I'm talking more about geographically. If there's a threat against vigilantism in New York, it's like a train ride from Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
I just want another reason to get Kamala Khan and stuff.
Agreed.
Like, I don't really care.
Funnily, Kamala right now is New York's
in Louisiana?
No, I mean in comic books. In comic books, she is New York's premier mutant. Like, she is hailed as the New York hero, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But yeah, she's off gallivant. Well, last we saw her, she was in New York recruiting Kate Bishop.
Did it end there? I thought it ended with her with
post-credit scene.
Captain Marvel in Louisiana.
That's where the
movie wasn't post.
That's where the episode movie ended, but
no, the movie ended with the New York scene, didn't it?
So the movie ends with them
because the New York scene wasn't mid-credit, or it wasn't post-credit. It was like in the movie.
You're right. It was at the end.
Post-credit scene was in the other universe with
the X-Men, right?
Monica.
Yeah, and Beast.
And and CG Kelsey Grammer,
which looked great.
It did. Let's not talk about that right now, though.
Yeah,
we can talk about that when we talk Secret Wars.
I want them to do more of this. I could see them doing a lot more stuff. I could see them going Shadowland. I could see them going full. What was the one? There's a comic event. I want to say last year or the year before that was Kingpin and anti-vigilante stuff versus the heroes. But I think it would be a very good setup for what is eventually coming down here. Kingpin, I think what we have to understand is whereas we're setting Doctor Doom up, right, to be this big villain for the entirety of the MCU, Kingpin is that, but focused on New York.
Yeah.
So I can really see them, I hope that they dedicate the time for him, make Kingpin this massive villain for the shows.
Yeah, and not even just for the shows. Like I said, I would not be surprised if the next Spider-Man movie was a conflict with, I don't know, let's say Tombstone or some other New York-based gangster, and then it turns out that everyone's reporting up into Kingpin, and Kingpin is the big bad.
I mean, I would love that, but also, I think that Spider-Man movie is supposed to come out after the next Avengers movie.
So?
Which means it'd be in Battleworld.
It doesn't necessarily mean that, because, I mean, they've done that before where they've done a movie out of timeline order with, like, Black Widow, so.
Yeah, but that far out of timeline order wouldn't...
It doesn't have to be that far. It's like, oh, this happened 6 months before Doomsday, and the post-credit scene sets up whatever's going on in Secret Wars for Spidey or something.
Fair. I just feel like if they're going to do anything around Battleworld, they're going to want to do Battleworld stuff.
I don't think they'll dedicate a Spider-Man film to Battleworld, especially because of the relationship with Sony.
I think they could. Purely for one reason and one reason only.
I don't think they will.
One reason and one reason only. Where does he originally get the symbiote?
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, bringing it back to Daredevil. I want to talk more about Hector Ayala. I want to talk more about White Tiger. Because that episode it was easily the best of the three so far. Those first two episodes are amazing. But getting an actual, proper, full courtroom drama of Matt representing another vigilante. So good.
Well, even just the idea of, like, he gets the judge to, commit to not allowing them to enter as evidence the fact that he is White Tiger, and then Matt immediately blows that up when they realize it's the only Hail Mary they have left.
I was shocked that he did that. I did not, that isn't, I honestly still don't know how I feel about Matt doing that.
I don't love it because he wouldn't want anyone to do that to him, and I honestly foresee that as I see that foreshadowing the revelation of Matt's identity at the end of this, setting him up to be a fugitive for season 2 with the Anti-Vigilante Task Force.
Does this mean, do we get season 2? Call the shot now. Do we get not Matt Mercer? I've been watching too much Critical Role.
Yes, you have.
Do we get Matt wearing the "I am not Daredevil" Christmas sweater?
I don't think that would happen unless it was in like a post-credit scene of a Spider-Man film.
I just think it'd be funny because I feel like what we've done a good job so far with these first three episodes, and just the entire Daredevil Netflix show as well, is like, hey, guess what? Things are very serious, yes, but Matt is such a troll sometimes.
Well, honestly, I'm like thinking about what happened in the Born Again comic, and obviously they're not directly adapting that, but I recently read through that again. I have no self-control. And yeah, I kind of love the idea, especially with Hector Ayala's the revelation here in episode 3. If we get to the end of the season and somehow Kingpin has convinced Karen to reveal Matt's identity to the world, and then the repercussions of that in season 2, it likely wouldn't be what happened in the comic, because in the comic, Karen is an actor in San Francisco and ends up on some hard drugs and sells that information for crack. And that's not going to happen here.
I think for the most part,
Karen's find a way to tell that.
I think Karen's out of this.
Honestly, I think if she came back for a cameo, it would be just for that.
I think if the next time we see Karen is in the Punisher special.
Could be.
I don't see her showing up here. I think it could be interesting. I mean, Matt's identity being shown is really great. A lot of this, though, I feel like just doesn't have the same weight that it would have without Matt's relationship to other heroes.
I was going to say, they've also already done that with Spider-Man.
Also,
so it would feel
frankly,
like a rehash.
I don't think they're going to touch anything from the Born Again comic.
No.
They did that already.
I think it's there in name only. Yeah.
And they've said, like, Born Again is a cheeky reference to the fact that Daredevil is still here.
Well, and the fact that they brought it back from the Netflix era into the MCU era proper.
They've already done the Born Again storyline in season 3.
Oh, I know.
It is excellent, so I can't see them really pulling anything else from it. But bring it back to just White Tiger, because again, I want to just talk about Hector Ayala. Mm-hmm. He's so good. So good. From the moment of, like, him getting beaten up, in his very small, calm conversations with Matt, whether it's in a cell, in the interrogation room, etc., to when he takes the stand. And Camara de los Reyes has these great moments of it's just like his facial expressions or his body language and the way he's acting, where he has the moment of, like, Matt telling him, don't react, don't say anything, don't do it. Like, everyone knows what he's about to do. Or to the points of, like, when he's putting on that mask again at the end of the episode. Like, he just does so good in this role. Part of, I think, why that death hits so much at the end is because of just how good this actor is. It's so disappointing.
I don't love the costume, though. That's the only thing. If I had to knock the White Tiger stuff for two things, it's one, the costume. I don't love it. And then I understand, like, street level costume, like, whatever. It's not meant to look amazing, but it just looked kind of homemade. And we really haven't had something with that aesthetic since Homecoming, I would say, with the homemade suit from Spider-Man. Which, to be fair, didn't look bad either, but it didn't feel like it fit the MCU, like, to that. I don't want to see some of these street level heroes look cheap, right?
So what I'm hoping is that I fully agree with you. I think that he looks dumb.
Yeah.
But what I'm really hoping that this sets up is Ava.
Yeah, well, that's where I think it's going to go. But at the same time, I've also been saying that about a bunch of other young heroes like Nova, and we've seen nothing.
We were supposed to, but then they canceled it. And I'm still upset about that.
They shelved it. They didn't cancel it.
I mean, okay, they delayed it indefinitely, which means it's canceled.
Without actually announcing it. So to be fair, it hadn't really gotten to past the ideation stage.
But what I'm hoping that this does is Ava trained by Matt.
Honestly, I hope it just leads to Avengers Academy.
Like we're
Put
getting
Matt in charge or put Strange in charge and do Avengers Academy.
Carol is right there. And already
That
setting
too.
shit up.
They got all these kid heroes. I got to train them at some point.
Well,
Like,
I love the idea of like we're seeing this a little bit in the Spider-Man show.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Spider-Man episode coming soon. Of Daredevil having a protege, and it being Finesse.
Yeah.
I would love it if you get a protege here, and it's White Tiger. It is Ava using somehow she gets the amulet back. Like,
I do think within the next episode or two that Matt tracks down these guys and gets his stuff back. If it didn't look like they took it at all, so it probably also just ends up in police evidence. So there's he'll find some way to get those back to the family. But that's the other thing that really upset. Like magic amulet gives him powers. Like, show it. Like, he puts the thing on and it's like, okay, now I got magic powers. Cool.
See, it was the moment that they didn't show it that I knew he was gonna die.
Well, it just would have been nice to have some effect to it. Some like, make it do something. Like,
I mean, he never actually
anything.
uses it though. Like, it will. I feel like it will do something when it's being used.
I hope so.
But of course, it's not going to do anything when he's not using it. I was slightly disappointed about how the amulet looked, but that's also just because, like, previously we've seen it, and it's like this bright green giant tiger, which is just always fun.
Give it an effect. Give it that green glow, and it's like, all right, cool, let's do it. We're doing green tiger energy stuff.
And again,
I'm sure they'll get to that point with Ava if they do tell that story, but it would have just been nice to get that little touch here.
Moving forward a little bit, I'm really excited to see what comes next with this show. Especially with just kind of some of the people we've got on the director path coming forward. I want to shout out Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, who did the premiere, and then Michael Cuesta, who did episodes 2 and 3. But what really interests me, and especially with kind of how they're taking it next, is these next 2 episodes are directed by Jeffrey Nachmanoff, who, if you look at his like IMDb and whatnot, he just does a lot. He does a lot of like a lot of cop shows, but then he also did like the pilot for Chicago Fire. So I really am curious how that style is going to play into this corrupt cop storyline, and how it's going to affect into the anti-vigilante task force stuff and all that.
It's gonna reintroduce the Punisher to us.
Oh yeah.
Like, that is happening in the next week or two, if not sooner.
Yeah, that has to happen.
I guess it can't technically happen any sooner. Mm-hmm. I'm tired, like, all the time.
So am I, as you can see by boxes. I am
less boxes than last time.
Same amount of boxes as last time.
No, you've been unpacking.
No, what I've been doing is taking all the empty cardboard boxes down to the dumpster.
Oh, never mind.
No, I'm actually mostly unpacked except for the stuff that's behind me, which honestly I'm kind of going to leave there because it's kind of great for the shot.
Can't complain. I mean, I can complain about the fact that I can see a palm tree. Granted, it's 15 degrees oh, God damn it, I have to do math.
Yeah, do the math, do the conversion.
60-ish here, which I'm not going to complain about in the middle of Smarch.
Yeah, it's
lovely Smarch weather.
85 down here, so about 29 for you.
Yeah, my mom and sister are currently in Mexico, so I'm hit with a double whammy of you moving to Florida and them being on vacation while I'm here. And all I want to do is go on vacation.
I'll tell you what
I want to do is go to Florida, but I can't because the president's a douchebag.
Oh, yeah, he's the worst. Guess what? Governor here, not much better.
Oh, I know, but I'm starting at the top and then working my way down, all right?
But just a brief aside, and then we'll wrap up the episode. My parents were sending me pictures this week of snow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, God, I miss that. I miss the cold.
No, you don't.
I prefer cold over heat. I'm weird that way. Anyways, folks, we will be back next week to talk about Daredevil episode 4. But hey, we're really happy with the show. I cannot wait to see where this goes. We will be back then. Keep an eye on all of our other stuff. But until next time, be good to each other and have a magical day.
Excelsior.